They kicked me out of my room for my sister's mental health, despite me paying rent. Now they're begging me to move back home. Hi everyone. Today's story will blow your mind, but real quick, if you enjoy this content, hit that subscribe button. Channel's been a bit quiet lately, and your support keeps it all going. Let's jump in. I'm a 22-year-old guy who just had one of the worst homecomings imaginable. 6 months ago, I left for a semester abroad in Spain, an incredible opportunity through my university that I've been saving for since freshman year. Before leaving, I spoke with my parents about my room situation. Since I'd been paying rent to them, $400 per month, to live at home while attending college, I asked if I should continue paying while abroad to keep my room as is. My parents assured me that yes, if I kept paying rent, my room would remain untouched. This seemed fair, and honestly, it made more sense than moving everything out for just a few months. Plus, I had lots of stuff I couldn't take with me: gaming PC, book collection, furniture I'd bought myself. So I set up automatic transfers to keep paying rent while I was gone. Fast forward to 3 days ago when I returned home, jet-lagged and exhausted after an incredible but draining semester. I walked into my house, hauled my suitcase up the stairs, and opened my bedroom door to find a yoga studio. Not just a yoga mat in the corner, a full renovation. The walls had been repainted a calming sage green, my desk and bed were gone, and there were yoga blocks, resistance bands, and a meditation corner with cushions and an essential oil diffuser. I stood there in shock before racing through the house calling for my parents. My mom appeared from the kitchen, all smiles like nothing was wrong. "Oh James, you're home. We weren't expecting you until tomorrow. Where's my stuff?" I demanded. My dad emerged from the living room. "Your things are in the utility room. We organized everything carefully." The utility room is basically a glorified closet off the laundry room. It's maybe 8 by 8 feet, with no windows, poor ventilation, and it houses the water heater. When I went to look, I found all my belongings haphazardly crammed into this tiny space. My clothes were in garbage bags. My computer was unplugged and stacked on top of my dresser. My books were piled in random boxes. What the hell? I've been paying rent this entire time. My mom waved her hand dismissively. "We know, honey, but your sister really needed the space." My sister Rachel, 24, moved back home about 8 months ago after breaking up with her boyfriend. She already had the second largest bedroom in the house, mine was the smallest, but apparently that wasn't enough. "She's been going through so much lately," my mom explained. "Her yoga practice is really the only thing keeping her centered right now." Rachel walked in at that moment wearing expensive-looking athleisure wear and carrying a green smoothie. She gave me a casual hey, like she hadn't completely taken over my personal space. When I pointed out that I'd been paying rent specifically to keep my room, my parents got defensive. "You weren't even using it," my dad argued. "Because I was abroad. Which you knew about. We had an agreement." Rachel rolled her eyes. "It's not that big a deal. The utility room is fine." "It's not fine. There's barely enough room for a twin mattress on the floor, let alone space to move around. My desk doesn't fit, there's no closet, and I can hear the water heater cycling on and off all night. I've been sleeping on the living room couch because I refuse to stay in that closet. Rachel has been doing her yoga sessions every morning at 6 a.m. with the door open so I can hear her breathing exercises and meditation music. I'm pretty sure she's doing it on purpose. My parents keep talking about how I need to be understanding of family needs, and how Rachel's mental health is fragile right now. When I brought up the rent issue again, they said they'd look into giving me some money back, but haven't mentioned it since. I'm furious and feeling completely disrespected. I paid good money to keep my room, and they completely disregarded our agreement. I'm already looking at apartments with a friend because I can't see myself staying here any longer. Am I overreacting? Would you stay and try to work it out, or just cut your losses and leave? Update: 2 weeks later. First off, thank you to everyone who commented on my original post. Reading through your responses helped me realize I wasn't crazy for being upset. This was a genuine breach of trust and agreement. A lot has happened in the past 2 weeks, though not necessarily for the better. After taking a few days to cool down, I had a sit-down conversation with my parents. I tried to be as rational as possible, explaining that we had a rental agreement, albeit verbal, that they violated, and that I expected either my room back or a full refund of the rent I paid while abroad. My dad immediately got defensive. "We used that money for the renovations. The yoga flooring was expensive, and the new paint wasn't cheap either." I was floored. "You used my rent money to convert my room into someone else's space without my knowledge or consent." "It's our house," my mom chimed in. "Technically, all the rooms belong to us." When I pointed out that paying rent should give me some rights to the space, my dad actually said, "You're being selfish. Your sister needs this space for her mental health. She's going through a difficult time right now." Rachel wasn't even part of this conversation, but she later cornered me in the kitchen. "You know, I've been dealing with anxiety and depression since the breakup," she said. "My therapist specifically recommended creating a dedicated wellness space, and this is really helping me heal." I asked why it had to be my room when she already had a perfectly good bedroom. "Your room gets better morning light," she said. "And it has the right energy." The right energy? Seriously? The next revelation came when I was looking through my bank statements and noticed that the most recent rent payment I'd made, after returning home, had been returned to my account. When I asked my mom about it, she said they didn't feel right taking my money when I was sleeping on the couch. "So you felt right taking it when I wasn't even in the country, but not now?" I asked. She didn't have a good answer for that. "I've spent the past 2 weeks seriously apartment hunting. My friend Mark and I found a decent 2-bedroom within our budget, about 15 minutes from campus. When I told my parents I was planning to move out, they seemed shocked. 'But you just got back,' my mom said. 'Don't you want to spend time with family?' 'I wanted my room back,' I replied. 'Since that's not happening, I'm finding somewhere else to live.' This triggered a new wave of guilt tripping. My dad suggested I was being impulsive and that I should think about how expensive it is to live on my own. My mom said I was punishing Rachel for something that wasn't her fault. I haven't signed the lease yet, but I'm planning to this week. Mark and I are aiming to move in at the beginning of next month. When I told Rachel I was moving out because of the room situation, she just shrugged and said, 'That sounds like a you problem.' The only slight positive is that my parents did finally reimburse me for the rent I paid while abroad, though they made it clear they thought they were being very generous by doing so. I'm using that money as part of my security deposit for the new place. I'm still hurt by how this all played out. These are the people who raised me, yet they seem completely blind to how disrespectful and unfair their actions were. Every time I try to explain my perspective, they turn it around to make me the bad guy for not supporting my sister's healing journey. I'll update again once I've officially moved out. Thanks again for all the support. It's been a lifeline during this frustrating time. Update 2. 3 months later. It's been 3 months since my last update, and I've made some interesting discoveries that I had to share. First, the good news. I moved into the apartment with Mark, and it's been great. We're paying $850 each for our own bedrooms, a decent-sized living room, and a functional kitchen. The location is perfect, close enough to campus but far enough from my parents' house that I don't run into them unexpectedly. I've been slowly replacing the items that were damaged when they were carelessly shoved into the utility room. My PC monitor had a crack I didn't notice initially, and several of my books were water damaged from the humidity near the water heater. Now for the interesting part. About a month after I moved out, I met up with my younger cousin Tyler, 23, for drinks. He mentioned he'd been at my parents' house recently for a family dinner and overheard something strange. Apparently, my sister has been paying rent to my parents too, but only $250 a month. For 2 rooms. Yes, you read that right. Rachel has been paying $250 for both her original bedroom and my former bedroom, now her wellness space, while I was paying $400 for just my single room. I was shocked, but not entirely surprised. When I confronted my parents about this over the phone, my dad got immediately defensive. "Rachel's situation is different," he said. "She's still recovering financially from her breakup." "She works full-time as a marketing coordinator," I pointed out. "And she just went on a weekend trip to Nashville with her friends." "That's not fair," my mom interjected. "She saved up for that trip for months. And she helps around the house more than you ever did." When I pressed them on the rent disparity, my dad actually said, "We charge based on what we think is fair for each of you. You're more established." More established. I'm a full-time student who works part-time at the campus bookstore. Rachel has a salaried job with benefits. The conversation devolved from there, with my parents accusing me of being petty and obsessed with money. My dad kept saying things like, "Family shouldn't be bean counting," and "We didn't raise you to be this materialistic." I ended the call when my mom said, "Maybe this is why Rachel needs her wellness space, to deal with all this negativity." After cooling down, I texted Rachel directly, asking if she knew I'd been paying nearly twice her rent for a single room. Her response, "Not my problem how mom and dad structured things. Don't drag me into your issues." When I shared all this with Mark, he wasn't surprised. Apparently, he'd seen similar favoritism in his friends' families. "Some parents just have a golden child," he said. "Nothing you can do will ever change that dynamic." On a more positive note, my apartment setup is coming together nicely. I've established a good routine with classes and work, and I'm enjoying the freedom of living without the constant tension. Several of my friends have commented that I seem more relaxed these days. My parents have started reaching out more frequently, usually with messages about family events I'm expected to attend, or asking when I'm coming to visit. I've been keeping my responses brief and non-committal. Rachel texted last week asking if I could help her move some furniture in her studio. Still can't believe she calls it that, and I didn't even dignify it with a response. I'm sure there will be some awkward family gatherings in the future, but for now, I'm focused on building my own life where I'm treated with respect. I'll update again if anything significant happens, but honestly, I'm hoping for a boring, drama-free few months ahead. Final update. 6 months later. It's been 6 months since I moved out of my parents' house, and I thought I'd share what's turned out to be the final chapter in this saga. The apartment with Mark has been working out great. We renewed our lease for another year, and we even adopted a cat from the local shelter, something that would have been impossible at my parents' place due to my mom's allergies, which mysteriously didn't apply when Rachel brought home a kitten last Christmas. About 2 months ago, an interesting opportunity came up. Tyler, the cousin who tipped me off about the rent disparity, found himself in a similar situation. His parents, my dad's brother and his wife, had been pressuring him to loan his car to his older brother indefinitely, despite Tyler having paid for it himself. When he refused, the family tension became unbearable. Our apartment building happened to have a 3-bedroom unit opening up, so we suggested Tyler join us as a third roommate. He moved in last month, and it's been a perfect arrangement. Our rent is now even more affordable, $650 each, and there's something therapeutic about living with someone who understands exactly what you've been through with family dynamics. Now for the dramatic turn of events. Last week, my parents called with some unexpected news. Rachel is moving out. Apparently, she reconnected with her ex-boyfriend, and they're getting a place together. My parents immediately suggested I move back home. "You can have your old room back," my mom said, sounding like she was offering me a tremendous gift. "We'll even help you move everything." I nearly laughed out loud. "You mean the yoga studio?" "We can convert it back," my dad said. "It wouldn't take much work." "And what would the rent be?" I asked, already knowing where this was going. There was a pause before my mom said, "Well, the $400 arrangement worked well before." That's when I told them I knew about Rachel's discounted rent. The phone went silent for a moment. "That was a completely different situation," my dad finally said. "And frankly, it's none of your business what arrangements we made with your sister." "You're right," I replied. "Just like my living arrangements are none of your business anymore." The conversation got heated from there. My dad accused me of holding a grudge, and my mom suggested I was being childish for not wanting to move back home. The call ended with my dad saying, "Fine, stay in that apartment if that's more important than family." The irony wasn't lost on me. 2 days later, my mom showed up at my apartment unannounced with a peace offering, a homemade lasagna and some of my childhood memorabilia she'd found while cleaning. I accepted the food but remained firm about my decision to stay in the apartment. "I don't understand why you're being so stubborn about this," she said. "It would be so much cheaper for you to live at home, and we miss having you around." I explained as calmly as I could that this wasn't just about the room anymore. It was about respect, fair treatment, and being able to trust the people I lived with. I told her I was happy in my current living situation and had no intention of moving. "But what about family?" she asked. "Tyler is family," I pointed out. "And he's living here now too." Her expression shifted when I mentioned Tyler. "So that's what this is about? You and your cousin ganging up against the family?" I assured her it wasn't about ganging up on anyone. We were simply supporting each other through similar experiences. She left looking displeased, and I later learned she called Tyler's parents to complain about the situation. The final twist came yesterday, when Rachel herself texted me. "Hey, so FYI, Mom and Dad are converting your old room back into a bedroom. They asked me to see if you wanted any of the yoga equipment before they sell it. Also, they're pretty upset about this whole Tyler thing. You might want to call them." I replied, "Not interested in the equipment, and there's no Tyler thing to discuss. Hope the new place with your boyfriend works out." She sent back, "Whatever. Just trying to help." To be honest, I feel a strange sense of closure now. Moving out was absolutely the right decision, and finding solidarity with Tyler has been an unexpected blessing. My parents still don't seem to understand what they did wrong, but I'm no longer waiting for that recognition. Mark, Tyler, and I are planning a small housewarming party next weekend to celebrate our chosen family apartment. We've invited friends who have been supportive throughout this whole ordeal, and notably absent from the guest list are any family members who contributed to the toxic dynamics we've left behind. For anyone facing similar family favoritism or boundary violations, I can tell you from experience, it gets better when you create distance. Building your own life on your own terms is the best revenge, though I prefer to see it as the best form of self-care. Thanks to everyone who followed this saga and offered support along the way. I'm closing this chapter now, but I'm opening a new one that I get to write myself.